podcast. If it's your first time meeting me, my name is Dawn. I'm originally from England, Manchester, which is the northwest. And for 24 years, as I'm filming this, I've been living in the Netherlands, just on the border of Amsterdam. And if you are here from Ravelry, it's because you've downloaded my free pattern. And if you've discovered me through YouTube, I have a written pattern to go with this tutorial on Ravelry. I'll put links below to everything, and I'll put timestamps as well if you want to, you know, flick to different segments of the making of the pumpkin. So I'm just going to show you super quick. I've got this written pattern on Ravelry. It's the ultimate crochet pumpkin pattern. I am not a pattern designer. This is the first time I've actually emptied my brain and put my my recipe on paper. I have been promising to do this for many years, and occasionally I do make tutorials on how to make things on my old channel, which I'm not going to go in here because that's a whole story on its own. If you want to know, I have another channel here on YouTube called Dawn's Days Vlog. So if you want to get to know me, and also the podcast channel, I talk about all the other things I make. I knit, I crochet, and so I'm a bit of an all-round craftaholic. I'm sat in my craft room talking to you. So the tutorial, what as I'm filming this, we're in September 2025. It's pumpkin season, it's autumn, fall, wherever you are in the world. So I have emptied my mind, my brain, and written down a pumpkin pattern, and I'm going to film a tutorial with you now on how to make this super cute, squishy little pumpkin. So I'm going to face the camera down now. Please bear with me. I'm not a professional at this. I'm just doing my best to help you. A couple of disclaimers. If this is not a learn to crochet tutorial, so you need to be able to crochet at a beginner level is okay, but you do need to be able to crochet certain stitches, which the pattern sheet will tell you, and as we go along I will also tell you. I'm not going to make all of the crochet from start to finish with you, because otherwise we'd be here for quite a while. So I'll just start you off on each of the segments, and then I'll either speed up or I'll stop and come back on the camera. If you are welcome to make pumpkins, as many as you like, using my pattern, the only thing I would kindly ask you to do is if you can credit me as the pattern designer. So and if you have other social media channels and you want to make a pumpkin following my pattern, if you could tag me, that would be awesome. I would also love to see your pumpkins. One more thing, you are very welcome to sell them if you want to make them and sell them or gift them. But again, if you are going to sell them, if you could kindly mention me as the designer, that would be fabulous. Okay, I think that's the admin formalities over. So let's face the camera down, and we'll begin with the tutorial. Equipment that you will need, that's listed in the pattern. Yarn of your choice. This is Scapier's Soft Fun in like this nice rusty colour. I think this is a cotton acrylic blend, I think. The matching crochet hook, I'm using a 4mm for the crochet that I'm making in this tutorial. Some polyfiller or stuffing. This is just a small piece. I will obviously need quite a bit more. If you haven't got polyfiller or stuffing, if you've got an old cushion that you're no longer using, you can open that, use that. It's the same kind of thing. A pair of scissors, a darning needle, or a needle with a thick enough eye to thread your yarn through, 2 stitch markers, and a tape measure. I've got this retractable one. So this should be the equipment you need, and the pattern. So the pattern calls for a chain of 26. So this isn't a learn to crochet tutorial, but I'm just going to do it very kind of as slow as I can without losing concentration. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of a tail. Doesn't really matter. You know, you don't need a long tail here because we're going to have we're going to do a longer tail when we cast off to sew the at the end or the top of the pumpkin. So with my yarn, I'm just going to make a simple slip stitch. So I'm just going to wrap the yarn away from me around my finger. So you see, this is the short end. So over my finger, wrap it away from me, and then I'm going to I'm holding it with these fingers. I'm just going to pass this loop over this loop, and one more time, and then take the loop off my finger, pull my finger up, and then we've got a slip stitch, which you can make longer or wider or narrow, not narrower, shorter than you want. Okay, so this doesn't count as a chain. So now we're going to chain 26. If you want to crochet along with me, you can do whatever size you want. This doesn't have to be an odd or even number. It does not matter. Cast on. So I'm hooking it, twisting the needle and pulling it through that loop, and then I've created one stitch. Now at this point, what you can do to help you keep track of it, you can take one of your stitch markers and you can place it, just if you pull your loop up a little bit, and then it won't, you can't undo this, just everything nice and goosey loosey. And then you've got this little V shape here where the stitch is, the definition. I'm just going to put the stitch marker through one of them, and there you go. So now I know it's crystal clear this was the very first stitch of the row, and then I'm just going to push that down. So that's one, and then again hook, pull through, two, hook, pull through, three, and you can see we're making these little V's. These are the stitches. So 3, 4, 5, so I think I've got 26, that's what I counted, but just to be certain, I can count these little V's. So we know this is the first stitch, so that's 1 V, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. And in case you're wondering, we can just quickly measure that if you would like to know the measurement, because I don't list that in the pattern because everybody's tension's different. So this is roughly the height of the pumpkin will be around 15 centimeters. You can see that there. Sorry, not very good with the camera work. Okay, so if we look at the pattern, it tells you once you've done your chain, you're going to in US terms single crochet or double crochet in English UK terms into the second chain from the hook. So this was the last chain we did. So this is the first chain from the hook, but the last stitch of the chain. So that's the first one. This is the second, this V underneath. So I'm just going to take my hook, poke it through one of the V, the little legs of the V, pull the yarn through, and then catch my yarn and pull it through two of those loops. And now that's the first stitch of this row. Now what I'm going to do is place look for the V, and then I'm just going to place my stitch marker under the two V's of the stitch. So now I know I don't have to worry about counting really. If I make sure that I go through every single stitch, I know from here until this stitch marker there's going to be 25 stitches. And then the pattern calls for you to single crochet or UK double crochet in every stitch along. So let's do that. Don't worry about trying to find two legs. I don't bother. This is the foundation chain. It will be totally fine. So now we go through the second, and the third, and I'm just finding the gap so I can poke it through. And now if I look on the top, so this is where the stitch marker is. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. You see these V's? Each V is a stitch. So I've done 4. Find the next little available space. Pull it up. 5, 6. So I'm going to carry on and single crochet. I crochet in US terms to the end of this row. So I'm at the end of the row. I've counted my stitches, which are these little V's along the top, and I've got 24. This is the first stitch. So I'm going to crochet into the 25th stitch. So just so I can comfortably do that, I'm going to remove the stitch marker. This is the last stitch of the row. Put my hook through, and again I'm holding the work so it doesn't fly around, and then put one last stitch in, and that is your foundation row. That's your first row completed of the pumpkin. Now if you go back to the pattern, it tells you now we're on to these are what we're calling the ribbing rows. The same as if you needed to crochet a sleeve cuff or a button band or the bottom of a sweater or a cardigan. This is the kind of the pattern that you would tend to do as a whole. So now on the ribbon row, so the pattern says chain 1, which we haven't put the stitch marker back in yet, so we go chain 1, which we've done, and then it says turn the work. So this is how we've just worked. So I've just turned the work, so now the working piece of fabric or yarn or wool is on my opposite side now, and this chain does not count as a stitch. So now you're going to go back in to the last stitch of the row. So all we've done is we've chained 1. That is the last stitch. If you're struggling to see that, what you can also do is once you've chained 1 is go back in and pop in a stitch marker if that helps you. So when we turn the work, I can clearly see, okay, this is the first chain. You can do it that way as well. So I'm just going to whip that out quickly. So now I'm going to place my what I should point out, it does say in the row, is the first and last stitch of every row is going to be a single crochet, only that. So pop the hook in, pull up a loop, pull through the 2 loops, and this is the last stitch of the previous row and the first stitch of the next row up. I'm going to pop my stitch marker back into those V's like so, and now the pattern's slightly different. This is where we're going to get the ribbon effect. Sorry, my camera just fell over. What the pattern now tells you to do is you're only going to single crochet through the back loop of every stitch. So it's only the first and last stitch of every row that you'll do a single crochet or a UK double crochet. And to do that, it's how you remember to do how you do it is the back loop. So if we turn it, we look at it from the top down, and you see you've got this V. The leg of the V here, I'm showing you where my hook's going through, this one here on the hook. This is the leg that's facing away from you. So this is the front here, and this is the back away. So we're only going to crochet through the back loop. So I'll show you a few stitches. So I'm going to pop my crochet hook through the back leg of that loop only, and then you work standard single crochet, pull up, pull through the 2 loops, and that stitch is now worked through the back loop. So go look at the next V. Let's go in the back leg of that V, back loop, pull up, and then through the 2 stitches. And now you can see we've got 3 stitches of the row. So the first is a single crochet, and then the next are through the back loop. I'll do a few more with you. So look for the V, find the back leg of that V, the back loop, hook in, pull up a loop, and then pull through 2. and you can see how we've got this little ribbon effect here. So I'm going to crochet to the end of this row, and then I'll meet you back here and we'll just do the chain 1 repeat, so you know, and then that will be the entire pattern until you're ready to cast off. So I'll pause the video here, you carry on crocheting and press play when you're ready. So here you can see we're at the almost at the end of the row. This is this ribbon effect by crocheting through the back loop only. And if you want to just count your stitches at this point, go ahead. So I should be on the 24th, and then the last stitch is the 25th. So I'm just going to back crochet through the back loop of this, and then this is the last stitch. You can see this is where we place the marker. Placing the marker at either end ensures that you're going to have a perfectly straight edge to your rectangle. So it's wise to just put your thumb where the stitch is. It's wise to take this out, otherwise you're really going to struggle, you know, getting your hook in the stitch. There won't be enough room. So I'm just going to pop that out. I'm going to do a single crochet. So I'm going to go through the entire, through the V here, you can see, through the entire stitch, pull up a loop, pull up a loop. Now what you can do here is you can place your stitch marker back in, that's also okay, just so you know, or you can just leave it out. Either way it's fine. So the pattern tells you to single crochet in the last stitch, chain 1 and turn your work, and then you can see where your stitch marker was. You need to take that out now and single crochet into that. I'm going to do that, single crochet, and then don't forget to add, there is your V of the stitch you've just done, don't forget to add your stitch marker. And then we continue exactly the same, crochet through the back loop of each stitch only. The pattern tells you to crochet approximately 25 to 30 centimeters, a rectangle this way. I'll pop back on. Sorry, there's a fly in my craft room. Don't know where that's come from. I'm going to pop back on. I'll meet you when I'm almost at the end of the rectangle, and then we'll go on to joining, running stitch, gather the top and bottom stuffing and so forth. I'll see you in a while. So the pattern calls for around 25 to 30 centimeters in length. So this is our working edge, the short length or the height of the pumpkin, and I am feeling, my gut instinct is telling me I quite like this length, so I'm just going to quickly measure it, and I'm at around 27 centimeters. You can see that's where I'm roughly around, so I think I'm going to call that a good size for my pumpkin. So at this point you can remove the stitch markers if you wish, which I will do, and keep a fairly long tail. If you just, this is the crochet loop that you've been working through, pull it so the working piece of the yarn is coming through that loop. So I'm going to take the scissors that was part of the equipment list and just snip it off there, and then continue to pull it through. There we go, give it a little bit of a tug. So I've got quite a good amount of a yarn tail to use. So what we're going to do now, move this out the way, is we're going to thread the yarn through the darning needle, and then this is how to make the segments. So I'm hoping I've chose the right size darning needle to pull my yarn through, which I have, and this is a good amount. Yeah, so just have a look at it, which side you like. I have got a couple of little pulls here, which you usually get with cotton, especially chunky, and I've got another pull here. I'm not too bothered about that. I think I'm going to call this the good side, because if when you crochet through the back or the front loop only, you get this ribbing effect. So what we're going to do now is join the two short sides together, and then we're going to sew them together. Now there's various ways of doing this. If you haven't got a darning needle, you can also do a slip stitch through the opposite stitch from side to side. You can do a mattress stitch. You can do anything you like, really, it doesn't matter. So this is the working yarn. This is the tail from the cast on that we did, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to insert the darning needle through the first stitch just to join it, and then from there on in. Now if you want, you can also use like a wonder clips or something to secure your piece together, or put pins in, but I'm fine with just holding it in my hand. I don't know if you're picking this up, we're in the middle of a storm as I'm filming this. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to crochet, sorry, not crochet, I'm going to stitch through the back loop, or the back and front loop of the stitches. So I'm not going all the way through the four legs of the two stitches. So if this is two legs of a stitch, this little V shape. So I'm just going to do the inside stitches. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to take my darning needle and just pull that through fairly tight, and then find the next stitch, which is around here. Now this side is the cast on side, so it will be a little bit messy. You don't have to do through every single stitch. I mean, I'm going to skip a bit, and you know, as long as you secure it, that the stuffing's not going to poke through. And all the while, just keep an eye on the other side, because you know, you could end up sort of the fabric does move, so you might end up with a bit of an overlap, a little bit of overhanging edge here, so which you want to avoid. So I'm just going to carry on pulling the yarn through. Maybe I'll just skip a few just for speed. Obviously, if you want to do a thorough job, you can. So I'm just coming up to the last few stitches. Just pop another one in. Sorry if you can hear my bracelets jingling, I do apologise. And I'm just going to have a quick look and make sure I'm happy with the seam. I mean, I could have put an extra stitch in there, but you know, it's fine. And then I can just give it a quick tug through just to make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, so we still have quite a lot of the long tail, and what we're going to do now is, doesn't matter which way around you go, I suppose you can go this way, is we're just going to run a running stitch through the top of the pumpkin, and it doesn't have to be in every single stitch, but I think a good way of doing this is, if you can see you've got these bumps through the row, I would, and when you pull the fabric, you can see there's a natural kind of hole, so I would just so you're just running the needle, and as I said, you're creating a running stitch, and you can see what happens when you pull the yarn, you get this gather. That's what we want to gather, the whole top and bottom of the pumpkin. So I've got some stray hairs, so you know, super quick. You can just, if you find this natural hole, this is why we did the single crochet instead of working through the back loop. It gives you this nice space definition. You don't have to be super precise because you won't see your stitches. Oops. Pull this through if it gets to the beginning. And I think that's where if you can see here, there's the join. So I'll just through, and then probably just squeeze in another stitch. And then, sorry, I need to, got too much of a long tail. And then the sewing piece of the yarn, you're just going to pull it, keep pulling it, keep pulling it, keep pulling it. Now, if you're using cotton, it will be a little bit of resistance because there's that's a lot of fabric or material to be gathering, but just keep going, it's fine. And then when you've pulled it really super tight, what you're going to do is just find any loop that picks up, and then you're just going to go across the top of the around the opening, just to secure it. You won't really see this because one is the bottom, and one you're going to have a leaf and a stalk on it, so you don't have to be super tidy with this. But you see it's opening up a little bit, so I'm going to find another stitch and then go over the opposite side and find another stitch, and then all the while I'm just pulling it, and you see it closes up quite easily. I'll do that a few more times. So find another stitch. Let's see, we'll go in here and then maybe go over this side. There's a little gap here. So, you know, there's absolutely no neatness with this. You know, it's a little bit rough and ready. I think that's quite good. I think that's quite well stitched. And then need to just make a knot. So I'm just going to go through a stitch close to the working length of yarn and just go through this loop here, through the loop, and then give it a good tug, good yank, and for good measure I'm going to do it one more time. Oops, that was a little bit, well, you can see that's the loop. Then pull through, go through it one more time, and then it's a bit messy. It doesn't matter, because now you're going to take your darning needle and then you're going to push it through, and then just keep pulling it through here and there. Give it a tug, and then you can't see anything. So this, you're going to leave this side open for now, because what we need to do is you can either snip that off or you can just place it in. It all helps towards the stuffing. And now what you're going to do, before you do another running stitch on this end, you're going to take your whatever you're using for stuffing. You know, could be a bit of old fabric, whatever you've got, and a couple of balls of wool that you don't like and you'll never use. So just give your pumpkin a good stuffing, and just you know, feel around with your fingers, make sure you're happy with it. And then when you feel that it's stuffed to yeah, the right kind of shape, then you're going to take a length of your yarn on the darning needle, and then you're going to do exactly the same as we've just done for the bottom. So you go ahead and do that, and then I'll meet you for the next part, which is making the segments. So you can see I've stuffed, sorry, move my crochet hook. I've stuffed the pumpkin. I actually feel it could do with being a little bit firmer, so I haven't closed the hole yet, so I'm just going to take a little bit more of the stuffing or polyfill, and then with your fingers and your thumbs just sort of push it around and make sure that you get like a nice sort of pumpkin shape, that you're happy with it. It's entirely up to you if you how chubby you want your pumpkin to be. The only thing what I would recommend is I wouldn't tend to overstuff this, because of the ribbing. There's quite a lot of stretch in the fabric of the pumpkin, so I think, you know, a nice squidgy kind of feeling is what you want to go for. Okay, I think that's probably right for me. And you know, this point I'm thinking that looks quite pumpkiny, so I'm going to as you can see, there's my darning needle. I'm just going to give the pumpkin a good cinch now. You can see, I can see the little bit of the filler through there. So what I can do is go back in with my darning needle and just reinforce that stitching if I wanted to. To be honest with you, I mean, I'll display it and it'll be at the back, so we'll see it. Okay, so I'm happy. I think I've cinched it as much as I can, and now at this point I'm going to try and find some space to, sorry, off camera there, just zigzag across, back and forth. It's quite tight now, to close the hole. And as we did earlier, just anywhere you can get the needle in at this point, because it's going to be, especially if you're working in a cotton, it's going to be very tight, and this all gets covered up. So keep pulling, and it closes quite quickly. Maybe try and think of it in a star shape that you're sewing. Sorry, that's my bracelet again. So I think that's quite good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to just, like we did before, I'm just going to find a loop that I can, where can I find, it's quite tight now. Maybe here, yeah. I'm just going to tie a knot, or sew a knot. Do it twice just for good measure. And then you can bury your end in. Now, if you don't mind sewing with a really long tail, you could continue to make your segments. What you can do to bury this yarn is get your needle and try and work it through the middle and come out the other side to make the segments. I don't actually like to do that. I find it a little bit fiddly to do, because it's the top and bottom's going to get quite tight. So I'm just going to push my needle through anywhere, poke it out anywhere of the pumpkin, just pull it through, and then if you give it a bit of a tug so the fabric's puckering a bit, and then you take your needles, careful not to snip your pumpkin, and then just as close as you can snip it off, and then when the pumpkin takes its shape, that end will have disappeared. So that's, you could actually leave that now. That's looking quite pumpkin-y. I like the shape, and with the ribbon, it kind of gives you that pumpkin look. If you really want to make it more like the traditional pumpkin shape, now what you can do is make the segments, and what all you do is attach your yarn that you've crocheted the pumpkin from to the top, and then you sew from top to bottom, and then you're making segments. Sorry, I knocked my camera over there. So I'm going to, you can see my sewing machine there as well. I'm going to take quite a long length of yarn now, and I mean this was a full ball, and you see how much I've got left. It's a great stash buster. Or if you wanted to make, you could easily make at least 2 pumpkins, possibly 3 out of one ball of this Scapier's Soft Fun. Okay, I think that's a long enough yarn for me, so let's pop it on. Okay, so I've got quite a long piece of yarn on the needle, so I'm just gonna shorten it a little bit to give me, so I'm not pulling too much through. Yeah, okay, right, I'm happy with that. So now we just need to attach the yarn to the top or bottom of the pumpkin, whichever one you like, and we can do it the same with the same method. Just find a loop, might do it on this side, I think this was easy to do, and then just attach the yarn to pull all the way through, and then all you need to do is I will just tie a little knot. If you leave this tail a little bit longer, sorry, because I've moved, the camera fell over. Yeah, if you leave this a little bit longer, you can thread this onto the needle and bury it in pumpkin if you wanted to. So I'm just going to tie a little knot do another one just for good measure. And then all you're going to do now is you're going to sew on the outside, top to bottom, however many segments you think it looks nice. So this is the working yarn, so I'm thinking I would like to place the yarn in the middle of that rib, and then I put my needle through, and then this can be a bit fiddly. Now you have to try and get your yarn, your needle with the yarn all the way through the middle of the pumpkin so it comes out the other end, and my darning needle isn't very sharp, so I've managed to get it through. So I'm just going to pull. Now you might get a little bit of the stuffing might come through, but that's fine. Oh, why is it catching? That's a bit strange. I've got to it's got tangled here, so I'm just going to pull it through. Keep pulling, and then mind the end. This is what I'm going to bury in later. Actually, I can put it over that join, and then you just give it a little tug, and then that looks around a nice place to place another segment. So I've gone through here, out the other side, and now I'm going to move and find another segment. So I think this would be a nice segment. So you can see, you know, you've got the ribbing. So again, try and get the needle through your pumpkin. It will make the last segment. Oops. Famous last words. Got it. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's give it one little tug, and now you can see it's a nice pumpkin shape. Tie the tail with the working yarn together to make a knot, and do that a few times, and that will keep the fabric in place. Now, as I said, you don't have to put these segments in because it's already ribbed, and then you just give it a bit of a squish. So now I can just do the same as we did earlier, just poke the needle in anywhere, it doesn't matter, and then just find an exit point wherever you can get it through. It's quite compact now without splitting your yarn. Come on, get the needle through. Oh my gosh. There, there's one. Don't go back in. Right, pull it through. And as I said, if you pull down on the pumpkin so it's a bit puckered, and then you snip, oopsie, you snip there, and then when it comes shape, the end's buried. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread this onto the darning needle and just bury that end in. So I'll probably do that off camera because I think this is going to be a bit fiddly to thread. Let's begin the stem. So we're going to start with the slip knot as we did earlier, and make sure that you're not crocheting with the end, the tail end, but you pick up the yarn from your ball of wool. That's a rookie mistake. I do that all the time, and the pattern calls for us to chain 20, which we'll follow for this particular tutorial. So going to chain 1. You don't have to insert a stitch marker at the beginning, but if you want to, it might help you. There's no you can eyeball this. We'll follow the pattern, but if you get to the end and you think, oh, I want to do some more, that's totally fine. So I've got 1 stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've got 20 stitches here. So in the second stitch, I'm just checking the pattern. Yeah, the second chain, sorry, from the hook. So this is the first chain next to the hook. In the second one, we're now going to do 3 US single crochets or 3 UK double crochets in that second chain from the hook. So insert the hook. That's the first one, that's the second one, and that's the third one. So you've got a bit of a hole there, but that's fine. Let's pull a little bit more yarn through, because all this will close up, you'll see as we go. And then the pattern tells you to now do 3 of the same stitches in every single chain. So 3 single crochets or 3 UK doubles in every single chain. No chain 1 or turn in at this point. So let's continue. So 1, 2, 3. As I said, don't be concerned about these gaps, because you'll see in a while as we go, you see these gaps that you've crocheted into. Don't worry about them, because you're going to see in a minute how, or hopefully quicker than a minute, how they will start to close up. Now, as you can see here, if you see what's beginning to happen, that's the start of the row, but the wool naturally wants to curl in on itself. Can you see that? So let's carry on, and it would be helpful just curl it in, because it keeps it out of the way for you. Okay, we're almost at the where we started. So my comment about leaving the tail was redundant, because yeah, I totally forgot that you start and finish at the same point. Silly me. We put the stitch marker in. As I said earlier, it doesn't matter if you can figure it out. You just find a hole and poke your hook in. So we're just going to do 3 double or singles in this last stitch. And there we have it. I'm going to pull through a decent size tail just to sew it onto the pumpkin. Pull through. Now you see we've got 2 tails, that's fine. And then you can see the construction of how you've crocheted it. It wants to naturally turn in on itself. So if yours isn't, it will. Just fiddle around with it. And you can see we've got this lovely stretchy stalk. Now what did I say is the top or the bottom? I don't know. It doesn't matter, I think. So what we need to do now is take your pumpkin and 1 or 2 of your ends, whichever, and then you're going to attach to the pumpkin. So there we go. If you want to stop at this point, I think it looks very pumpkin-y. You don't have to add leaves. For the purpose of the tutorial, I will do that. So let's make a leaf. Looking at the pattern, I've given you 2 ways of making the leaf, or leaves, depending on if you want more than one quantity. I've given you the magic loop method or the chain and slip stitch to form a loop method. I'm going to work in the magic loop method just because I prefer it, and it's I find it gives a much neater finish. But just to demonstrate, I will firstly just explain the chain and slip stitch to join. So the chain and slip stitch to join, you're going to make the slip knot as previous, and I'm going to add the crochet hook and move the tail, the short tail, away, and now we're going to chain 5 the pattern. I'm just checking, yeah, chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it tells you to slip stitch to form a ring. So if you imagine, we go to the very first chain that we did, and we're going to insert the hook there, and we're going to slip stitch in there, and then if you pull it open, then you see you've got this ring, and all stitches from there on will be worked in the ring. I'm not following the pattern, I'm just demonstrating how you work in the ring. So that's how that method works. Now, as I said, I'm going to work with the magic loop ring. Okay, here is my magic ring, and if you're familiar with the magic ring, you can make it as the loop or ring as big or small as you want. So the pattern tells you, so this is the same if you're working in a chain ring or a magic ring. So it tells you to chain 2. So we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Now I would recommend at this point that you put a stitch marker in the chain, the last chain that you've made. It just makes it easier a little bit later. So let's pop in a stitch marker. It's really hard to do this with a camera right in front of you, so it doesn't matter if it's in the 2 posts of the V. Okay, so chain 2, and then we are going to do, so I'm going to do this in US terms just because that's easy for me, because I think I said earlier, trying to work in 2 different crochet terms, film and follow a tutorial and make sure I'm doing it right and I'm in shot is very difficult. So I'm going to crochet this now with you in US terms, just to be clear. So chain 2, then we're going to do 1 double crochet and then 1 treble. So yarn over, I'm going to do the double and then pinch to keep your work stable. Oops. So 1 double and 1 treble. Gosh, that wind. Sorry, the yarn's gone a bit splitty. Okay, 1 treble. Then it tells you 1 double and 1/2 treble. 1 double. And 1/2 treble. Make my ring a little bit smaller. Half treble and 1 single crochet. There we go. And then we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to do a single crochet back in the ring, and then we're going to do, oops, where are you, 1/2 double crochet. Did I say half treble before? I think I'm getting mixed up. Half double crochet, 1 double crochet and 1 treble, and 1 double, 1 double and 1 single. And then it tells you to finish off, you're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain from when we started. So I'm going to remove the marker. I mean, if you're an experienced crocheter, you'll know where you can figure out where the top of the chain is. Whoops, come on, it's not wanting to poke through. No, got you. Okay, at this point what I will do is, because I'm working in the magic ring, I'm just going to pull my chain a little bit, the ring a little bit tighter. So slip stitch, slip stitch, oh, come on, into, and then pull up a loop and snip off, leaving the tail long enough to stitch, and then you just go in, and again this works the same with the chain, join the chain to form a ring. Just pull it, give it a tug, and you see we've got this little cute leaf. And as I said, you can make as many of these as you like. So I'm going to put the pumpkin down here, and then that can be stitched here. Now it would be nice with a couple more, which for the purposes of this demo I've done. Oops, can pull the loop up on that. So now I'm going to stitch the leaves onto the pumpkin. So I'm going to do that off camera because it will take a while and you don't need to see me stitching leaves on. I'll be back in a moment. So there we have it. We've made the pumpkin together. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you've been able to follow along. Don't forget, I'll put a link below to the Ravelry pattern. It's all printed out, the terms US, UK. Most of the tutorial, as you would have gathered by now, I've spoke in US terms because that's what's in my brain, but where possible I've tried to mention the UK terms. So I would recommend that you download the pattern. It is free. As I said, it's on Ravelry, and I'll put a link below. And sorry, I've got some yarn fibre floating around it. Oh yeah, what I was going to say is this is so versatile. I will mention special shout out to my lovely friend Jeanette, who's here on YouTube, Crafty Clegs Creations and Crafty Clegs Journals. Jeanette is an all-round crafter extraordinaire, and when I told Jeanette that I'd written the pumpkin pattern, and I said, you know, if you've got time, and she said, oh, give it to me, I'm going to test it, and she did a great job. So I'm going to insert a picture of Jeanette's pumpkin here, and as you can see, she made a pink one. It's fantastic, and she did hers in like a chunky Aran yarn. It's very versatile because it's crocheted in a long strip. You could do stripes, you could do a Christmas pumpkin, you could do red, white and green, you could do colours of gourds, you know, like orange, brown, yellows, loads and loads of different ways of making it into, you know, a very special and ultimate crochet pumpkin. And I think that's everything. If you've got questions, please leave a comment, or you just want to say hello. If you would, everything's free. I do have a Ko-fi account. I never ever mention it on all my other videos and channels over the years, very rarely. But if you want to buy me a coffee, I'll leave my Ko-fi account. That would be lovely. And hopefully I will be back, not shortly, but soon, with another tutorial for you, because, you know, it was a good learning curve for me. I do remember I did, you know, enjoy making tutorials in the past, even though they're a lot of work. Anyway, thanks again. If you haven't hit the subscribe button to my channel, somewhere on, depending on what device you're watching me on, there'll be a subscribe button. It's totally free. And if you want to hit the little bell somewhere, YouTube will notify you when I have another video uploading on this channel. And as I said, if you want to get to know me a little bit better, I do a weekly vlog all about my life in the Netherlands. There's always a bit of crafty chatter going on, some shopping haul, tips, tricks, just general life stuff. So thanks for tuning in. Good luck, happy crocheting, and hopefully I'll see you on social media, posting you in my Ravelry if you've made one. I'm not very good with Ravelry, but anyway, I'm sure you'll find a way to let me know what you've been doing if you've made one. Thanks again, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.